What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is having a good start to their Friday, and hopefully it does go by pretty quickly to get that weekend started. So for today's first horror news update, we just covered this topic not even 3 days ago, and as I mentioned then, and I've been mentioning every time this topic comes up, and I predicted it, and it seems like it's coming true. It seems like it's just going to continue up until we get the release of this series this coming summer, which if it doesn't come out until, let's say, June or July, that still gives us roughly, a month and a half or so by the time they get all the news out there and start giving us trailers on casting. Again, we just talked about this topic 3 days ago on the latest casting for Dexter Resurrection. And here we are again, 3 days later. We have two additional casting updates to provide for this series. Again, I'm not sure who's making these decisions as far as releasing this information, where they feel like every week we'll release one or two casting updates. And again, it's another big name. This one's a big name, and it seems like David Dastmalchian will have I don't know if it's going to be a bigger role. The second casting, the article confirms, the actor confirms, it's just a small cameo type role, but the fact that he's returning and even going to be in this series, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to use the cameo role and how big of a quote-unquote cameo role it's going to be. So as you see from the headline here, what the topic is, and I already just mentioned it, it's around Dexter Resurrection, and the headline says it: Late Night with the Devil star David Dastmalchian joins Dexter Resurrection. So we're going to take a look at this casting update first, then we're going to jump into the second one. So we'll scroll down a bit here. So David Dastmalchian has joined the cast of Dexter Resurrection. The Dune and Late Night with the Devil actor will guest star as a character named Gareth. Currently in production in New York, the continuation of Dexter New Blood is expected to premiere this summer on Paramount Plus with Showtime. Michael C. Hall, and now we just get into all the information we already know. So pretty much these next three paragraphs we already know about. These are all the updates we've been providing as far as casting updates. It started off with Peter Dinklage and Uma Thurman. Then it was, as you see here in the next paragraph, Kristen Ritter. Then it was Neil Patrick Harris. And then earlier this last week was the one we reported on, which was Eric Stonestreet. Now, as I mentioned in that video, Eric Stonestreet would not have been on my bingo card. Neither would have Neil Patrick Harris been on my bingo card for this series. But again, I'm wondering if they're trying to bring in as many names as they possibly can, whether they're guest starring, their cameo appearances, their 2 or 3 episode appearances, to garner as much attention to this series as possible, especially since they're calling it a direct sequel or follow-up to New Blood, and we all know how New Blood ended. None of us really cared for how it ended as far as the broader fan base. Now, if you did watch Dexter Original Sin, you see where they made an attempt, or they do fix the end of New Blood by rushing Dexter to the hospital, and then once he's in the hospital, we see we get this flash before, your life flashes before your eyes, and we then are taken into the entire series of Dexter Original Sin. But where Dexter Original Sin ends, it just ends on a happy note. It doesn't shoot us back to the hospital or back to the emergency room. The show just ends. So I would imagine with Dexter Resurrection, it's going to be picking up back at the hospital in that emergency room in some way, shape, or form, because obviously they have to quote unquote resurrect Dexter. But the fact that this is also, they're doing filming in New York, so if part of the story is taking place in New York, I'm wondering if they're going to bypass Florida altogether. But they're bringing Angel Batista back, so either Angel Batista is still in Florida, hears about Dexter, or hears about these serial killers that might have a connection to something going on in Florida, and he travels to New York, or this is just where the story begins, and Dexter finds his way back to Florida. Have no idea what the story is going to look like yet, but as we've mentioned, another casting update. So as we go on to talk about a little bit more here, Original Dexter showrunner Clyde Phillips returns, while fellow Dexter alumni Marcos Sega serves as producing director. He'll helm 4 episodes, with Monica Raymond directing the other 4. We did have another article where we did a casting update. It might have been the Kristen Ritter or Neil Patrick Harris update, where we got the same brief information, where it does confirm. In my eyes, it confirms the fact that this is only going to be 8 episodes. I mean, they're clearly saying someone's going to be doing 4 episodes, and then director's doing the other 4, implying that there's only 8. So, and then the rest of this article just goes on just to briefly talk about, as far as Dark Dreaming Dexter, when it ran. And then, as we've been seeing thus far on the Instagram page, where you get this subway train going by, it slows down, stops, and gives us as far as who now has been casted and what the name of their character is going to be. And as you see here, it's David Dastmalchian's little cameo video that they've produced for him. And then nothing much more down here, just saying welcome to the cast. And that's where this one ends off. Now, the next casting news, I was a bit surprised about this one. Didn't see this one coming. Not sure why they're doing it or how it's going to make sense, but not much of what they've been doing has made sense thus far until, again, we see a teaser or we see a full trailer. But the next one is here. Let's get rid of this. So, the Trinity Killers return to Dexter sequel show, explained by John Lithgow. Yes, John Lithgow, Trinity Killer, is going to be making a return for Dexter Resurrection. So the Trinity Killer's surprise return in Dexter Resurrection gets a new explanation from John Lithgow. After the success of creator Clyde Phillips' original Dexter show, Michael C. Hall returned as the titular serial killer in Dexter New Blood in 2021. 8 years after the divisive season 8 finale, now Hall is reprising his role as the character once more in Dexter Resurrection sequel show, which will feature the return of some familiar cast members, which we've already gone over. We just went over those again. But the last part here, and Lithgow as Arthur Mitchell, aka the Trinity Killer. In a recent interview with Variety, Lithgow confirms that viewers shouldn't expect to see the Trinity Killer beyond a brief cameo in Dexter Resurrection. The actor reveals that he returned for only 1 day of filming, with his character appearing as a phantom to Dexter as he awakens in the hospital. And then we have the quote here: "I just went back to a day. They're rebooting the entire Michael C. Hall version of Dexter, and it turns out he didn't die after all. I came back sort of as a phantom as he gradually comes to life on a hospital bed." So this would imply, as far as based on this and how Original Sin starts, is that, again, we see him being rushed to the hospital. We see him in this emergency room. They're trying to resuscitate him. So this would imply, in my eyes, that that's where we're going to see this brief cameo, this phantom version of the Trinity Killer, is either Michael C. Hall coming in and out of consciousness while they're trying to revive him, or once he's revived and they've got him stable, he then sees Arthur, this phantom of the Trinity Killer. And that might just be it. It might just be a quick 2 or 3 minutes. Or it could be 8 to 10 minute conversation that him and Dexter have. Who knows? We'll have to wait and find out. I don't imagine this is something that they're going to show us in the teaser trailer or in a full trailer, because if it's so brief, it might just be something that we're just given right at the first episode, within the first 10 to 15 minutes of episode 1. So now we go on a little bit more what the Trinity Killer's return means for Dexter Resurrection. Again, I don't think it means much, and I'll provide the links for both of these articles in the description of this video below. Again, the actor, John mentioning it's just a cameo, and he's going to be some sort of phantom, part of Dexter's imagination. Again, that whole life flashes before your eyes type situation. So I can't imagine it's going to have much of an impact to the overall series. I mean, this does go on a little bit more, as you see here. Dexter Original Sin undoes this ending, revealing that Dexter was quickly packed into an ambulance and brought back to life at the hospital. And the ending they're referring to is when Harrison shoots him at the end of New Blood, and we all believed that Dexter had died at that point. And we all know how that turned out. Fans didn't like it. Clyde Phillips recognized that. Clyde Phillips has been on record talking about that the fans did not like how the original series ended in season 8, and then they tried to fix it with New Blood. They still didn't get it right, and now they're back again for a third attempt to I don't know, try to fix how they're going to give Dexter a send-off, but I'm going to tell you right now, you can mark this on your calendars, March 14th. If Dexter's resurrection is successful, they're going to keep it going. They're not going to just have this as a one and done. And I think that was very much the case with Original Sin. I'm sure they went into that thinking it was going to be a one and done series, and the numbers showed that there were a lot of people out there wanting more Dexter content. They were excited to see Dexter, or at least the Dexterverse return in one way, shape, or form. And I would not be surprised if we get a season 2 of Dexter Original Sin, especially on how that first season ended. So again, this article just goes on briefly, but a little bit more, just talking about what we could expect to see. Though audiences get a brief look at Dexter in the operating room in Original Sin, Lithgow's comment suggests audiences could be seeing more of Dexter's time in the hospital in Resurrection. He's sure to not stay in this location long, however, and it has been reported that the show will feature the serial killer in New York City. These reports were seemingly confirmed recently with photos emerging from the Resurrection set in the city. Other reports have suggested that Peter Dinklage will serve as Dexter Resurrection's main villain, billionaire Leon Prater, which we knew that as well. And this just goes on to talk about Trinity Killer from the original series of Dexter, season 4 a little bit, and how John Lithgow played that role. And again, just a little bit more about how that season ended. And as far as, Harry and Harry and Deb, played by Jennifer Carpenter's roles in New Blood. So this one was a bit of a surprise. Did not expect that John Lithgow would be portraying Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer, in any way, shape, or form for Dexter Resurrection. But he's on record. He went back for one day of shooting. It sounds like he's going to be in that first episode. And now we have a second article confirming this will be 8-episode run. You all know my opinion on that. I'm not a big fan of 8-episode run seasons. I prefer at least 10. I feel like it gives them enough runway to tell the story fully and not rushing it, especially when we know around episode 4 or possibly part of 5, it turns into just a filler episode where not much gets added to the story, which in my opinion is always a waste of an episode. I don't think filler episodes are needed at all. Keep the story moving, keep the audience engaged. So anyways, that's going to do it for this horror news update for Dexter Resurrection. Again, we have John Lithgow and David Dastmalchian John Lithgow's returning, but David now joining the cast of Dexter. So drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about this latest casting update for Dexter Resurrection. It's 3 casting updates this week so far. So I'm sure we'll see more to come in the weeks before and months before this series finally releases. Also, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.